You know that feeling when a relationship is clearly over, but the other person won't actually break up with you?
Mm-hmm.
They just start, I don't know, acting terrible until you're the one who has to end it.
Right. They force your hand. It's not you, it's me line, but weaponized.
Exactly. So imagine that. But it's your job, your livelihood. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a guide from HTW Law on constructive dismissal.
And it sounds like some, dry legal term.
It does.
But it's really one of the most high-stakes situations in employment law.
So our mission today is to decode what they call the quit-to-sue paradox. We're trying to figure out when a toxic boss or a sudden pay cut legally turns into a firing.
Even when no one ever says the words, "you're fired."
Okay, so let's get into the mechanics. Most people think getting fired means, a pink slip, maybe a security guard escort.
Sure.
But this guide makes it clear that's not always how it works.
That's the whole constructive part of it.
Yeah.
It happens when your employer just unilaterally changes a fundamental term of your job.
Without your consent.
Without your consent. They haven't officially fired you, but they've broken the deal so badly that the law says, yep, that was a termination.
And from the source material, it seems like this can happen in two main ways. There's the single blow and then the slow burn.
Yeah, the single blow is pretty obvious.
Like you come in one day, you're a manager, and they suddenly say, great news, you're now a junior clerk with a 30% pay cut.
Right. That's a massive immediate breach. It goes right to the core of the contract.
Yeah.
But the slow burn, that one is, I think, a lot more insidious.
It's sneaky.
It is. It's a series of actions over time. It's that boss who micromanages every single thing you do, maybe hides your wins from their own bosses, or just picks on tiny little mistakes.
All designed to make you quit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they can avoid paying severance.
Okay, but we should be really clear on the terms here. This is different from wrongful dismissal.
Yeah, different. Wrongful dismissal is when you are fired, but without fair compensation.
Yeah.
Constructive dismissal is unique because you're the one who has to actually walk away.
Which brings us to what I thought was the scariest part of this guide. It's this idea of the tick-tock of acquiescence.
Yes. Time is not on your side here.
It seems like if your boss cuts your pay and you just keep showing up to work,
then in the eyes of the law, you might have just accepted it.
you've agreed to it.
Your silence is seen as acceptance, you've acquiesced, and you lose your right to sue over that change.
But you can't just quit on the spot, can you? I mean, the guide says there's a reasonable time frame.
There is a try-it-out period, yeah, but that clock is ticking really fast. For something like a pay cut, you need to object almost immediately.
Okay.
For a change in duties, the courts might give you a few weeks, maybe a month or two, to see if the new role is genuinely intolerable. But not much longer than that.
So let's say you realize, okay, this is a fundamental breach, I'm not accepting this. Now you're in what the guide calls a catch-22.
This is the risky part.
To sue them for damages, you have to quit first.
That's it. You are walking away from your income on a bet, really. A bet that a judge will agree with you that the contract was broken. If the judge disagrees,
You just quit. No severance, nothing.
you get zero.
Wow. Okay, so that makes the whole paper trail absolutely critical. You can't just scribble, I quit on a sticky note.
Oh, definitely not. That resignation letter is probably your single most important piece of evidence. It has to clearly say, I am resigning because of these specific fundamental changes. You have to connect the dots for them.
The guide also had an interesting point about reemployment. Let's say you quit, and then that same boss offers you your old job back to, limit their damages.
Right, to mitigate their losses.
You don't always have to take it.
You don't. You have a duty to look for other work, but the law doesn't expect you to go back to a hostile or humiliating situation. You don't have to accept that demotion just to save them money.
So where do you actually fight this battle? The guide lists a few different venues.
It really depends on the cause.
Yeah.
If that slow burn was driven by discrimination, say based on your age or race, you'd go to the Human Rights Tribunal.
HRTO.
Yep. If it was chronic mental stress from harassment, that could be a WSI claim.
But for the big money, for the severance, you're going to court.
That's right. It's slower, it's more expensive, but that's where the substantial financial awards are handed out.
The big takeaway here seems to be that your job is more than just a list of tasks. It's a contract.
And it's a two-way street. Your employer can't just tear it up and write a new one whenever they want.
Right.
And for employees, staying silent is actually a decision, a legal one.
It really leaves us with a final provocative question to think about. The whole system relies on a reasonable person test to decide if a workplace change was intolerable. But does that test really work in practice? Or does the pure financial risk of the quit-to-sue gamble force reasonable people to just put up with terrible situations because they literally can't afford the risk of being wrong?
It's a tough question. Something to keep in mind, I guess.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.